Sitting in one of the new Gleaner combines here.
And good to have you here. One of the neat things that you'll see around the Gleaner display today is a lot of things that are very similar to what we've done in the past. Is we like to walk people through the product because we're making so many changes. And so the philosophy really is about talking about things that we're doing as this needle is moving, you might say, that we continue to do. So one of the things that we started out last year, and we had a chance to do a little bit of talking about, was what we did with the new perforated cascade pan. So a lot of those things that we did was to talk about how we're increasing capacity on the machine without increasing the weight. So one of the big concerns we had is as you start walking around and you start talking at other displays and you hear what's going on about how they're trying to figure out how to extend capacity by turning around and lengthening things, and then they're taking what? They're reducing weight because of putting aluminum shoes in and things like that, because of the fact that these are the areas that tend to be problems, right? You end up with cracking and you end up with issues that you have. So what Gleaner did here is we were able to take here and add on about 992 square inches to the cleaning capacity of this combine, and doing it without adding a lot of weight, which is a huge thing. So right now, we have about 8,721 square inches that we now have on that cascade pan, and that's why you start to see others now trying to follow, right? Trying to figure out how do I get more capacity out of the machine without having problems that you end up experiencing, like shoe cracks, and occurring so like that. So the important thing is that's why the cascade pan is out here, and to be honest with you right now, as we start going to the future, we're going to offer the ability to be able to give customers the chance to be able to add that perforated cascade pan if they have an existing S-Series combine. So 2015 last year is what started that. That's why we wanted to bring it here, because we have a lot of people come up and say, can I get that? Because I've heard about how great it is and how much capacity gain it is. But when you start talking about 992 square inches, that's about 12.8% increase. When you're doing that in a machine, that's a lot, okay? So let's talk about what's been going on. Because keep in mind that last year, November, we decided to launch another new combine, the S9 series. And for a lot of the press, it didn't give them the opportunity out there, because when you do it in November, lots of things are still going on, right? Harvest, and we had Agritechnica, and we had all kinds of things. Agco's constantly moving. So Caleb and I had a chance, and Caleb Schlater right now is the tactical marketing manager for Gleaner, and that lets Dad get to do the things that he gets to do. See, and you earn that when you get out and get to spend a little bit of time. So I'm going to spend more time this year with customers in the field, and I'm going to enjoy that. The important thing is when we introduce the S9, this is part of this whole journey that we've been doing. But this one is a big one, because if you remember when we introduced the S8, there were a lot of things that we did to the machine. With the S9, you can see visually right away, just by looking at the front of this machine, that, oh, there's something different. There's something big. And obviously it starts in the front with the new Vision cab, right? The new Vision cab was launched, and we went out and actually did 5 meetings, and went across the U.S. and had a lot of fun doing it. We had about 1,200 customers that got a chance to see it personally. So, from November until December, it was an exciting opportunity for us to give customers a chance to visually look at the machine. But what's important to understand here as you start to walk around the machine, I told Caleb, I said, I get excited as what we did on the outside of the machine as we did on the Vision cab. So I'm just gonna start, if I can, in the front. You mind if I do that just a little bit?
Yeah, you can go ahead and talk about that feeder house improvement.
And talk about exactly. The feeder house improvement to me is a big one, and you got to understand that one of the things that you hear me talk about when I come to the farm shows is what's happening with crop densities, right? You take a look at what's happening out there right now. Crop densities are increasing, right? You look at what we've had out there at last year's harvest, and customers were out there saying, gee whiz, I can't believe, right? Can't believe the yields that we're experiencing out there. And I don't see this as a situation that's going away. I think it's going to continue to kind of move. So what Gleaner's been doing out here is what can we start to do on the machine to increase capacity and allow us to put more throughput through that front end. So what we did is, it was an interesting thing. About 2 years ago, I went up to Manitoba, Canada, and took one of our engineers up there with us, a guy by the name of Bob Honus, and we went out in the field. And why we went out to the field there is we wanted to get up there in one of the most difficult crops up there, because when you get up into Canada, you know, they have a huge amount of crop density up there, especially with their canola. And canola is a gnarly crop, and there's another crop that's similar to it. Anybody know what that might be down here in the U.S.? It's soybeans, right? Soybeans and what you have with canola are two crops that, if you're going to have crop densities, it's going to challenge you. So we went up there purposely to go up there and see what we could do to push those combines to the limit, and see what we could do to increase the capacity in that feeder house area. So you're going to see a big difference here in the S9 that is really going to help us in increasing our capacity. So in reality, by doing some things inside there that we did to the feeder house, so in reality, by lowering and by doing some things in there to change the relationship of our runners and what have you, we were able to get a nice package that increases capacity at that feeder house. And customers out there, we thought it was such a neat thing that we went out last year and we started to give the ability to the customer to put that into an S-Series combine that they might have on their farm. So we had a number of people last fall that actually went out there and put a similar package to what we're offering in the S9 on that feeder house. Now what it amounts to is it allows us the capability now to have a much more smoother transition of crop. And what I like to think about it is when you get into those kind of situations out there with crop density, what we were trying to do is, I don't want people to have to white knuckle it. You follow me? I want them to be able to take their hand and know that they can take that to the maximum capacity, which means they're getting all the engine RPMs utilized in the machine. So what you're going to notice in here on the S9, and you're going to also notice it on machines out there, that we're going to offer this as a package where a dealer could do that. A customer out there can take an S6, S7, S8, you know, to go out and take that machine, or even now machines out there even older than that, and they can actually put that feeder house transition in there. And customers are doing it, and it's an incredible improvement. It's an incredible capacity increase in those two crops, and recognizing with where things are going, we think it's a good time in the ag industry to give the customer the option of being able to do it. So I call it a feeder house optimization package that we're offering, okay? So the S9 in that area is going to see a major improvement. But let's talk about some other things. You'll notice on the feeder house right now, we've actually increased the length of the feeder house on the S9, almost 5 inches, about 4.8 inches. And that allowed us to be able to do a number of things. Improve our visibility, improve hookup, but also to give us more room there for a vision cab. Now, if you take a look at that vision cab is substantially larger in size and in depth that we had prior. So when you climb up there, you really get a perspective that you don't see in combine cabs today. In fact, one of the largest now cabs out there in the industry today, as well as being very, very quiet. But it goes back into a lot of other things here that we can talk about here, and maybe I'll let Caleb talk about a few things as well.
Yeah. Well, really, I want to make sure that the point here is we've done a lot, we've changed a lot. The cab is probably the most prevalent change that we made, but the feeder house is the true game changer. This is something that's going to be a major increase in capacity. You're going to see a big difference between our older series and our newer series with this change. And the fact that we can go back and retrofit onto other machines is huge. But the cab itself, the cab is very exciting. We talked about intuitiveness, convenience, making sure that it's easy for the customer. That's really what our goal was. How do we make something so simple for the customer to where they can get in, they can know how to operate, yet have the high technology standards that a lot of our operators have today? And so what we did is we went in and we actually had a lot of VOC, a lot of voice of customer, a lot of voice of dealer, a lot of voice of our own internal employees of how do we make it simple? How do we make it easy yet powerful? And I think that with the Vision Cab, we've accomplished that. We've made these changes, we've made these increase in productivity, increase in efficiency, and made sure that we're doing it at an intuitive level. So when you look at our task controller, we've taken out redundant screens. When you look at our operation, we've made sure that everything is at fingertips length. The hydro handle has all the functions that you would need in order to ensure that you can adjust your header height, engage your auto guidance, activate your auto header height control. So everything is right on that hydro handle, making it very easy, very simple for the customer. Now, what I will say is if you get an opportunity, take a look at this cab, jump in it. It's a fully functioning simulator, all the way from auto guidance to yield mapping to actually setting the machine, running through, and picking up crops. So if you get an opportunity, get in the cab, sit in it, run through some activities, and you'll see the powerful intuitiveness that we put into the S9 and the Titan terminal.